Hello, fiber friends. Shereece Nicole of So Hooked on Treasures, and welcome to this year's Free Motion Quilting Summit. For those of you that are new, welcome. We are excited to have you, and we hope that you learn something and take away something that you did not have in your knowledge bucket before this summit this year. If you are returning, we are just as excited to have you as well, and that speaks volumes because obviously we did something right last year that you thought it was worth it to come back this year. So thank you. Thank you very much. Quick kudos to Mary of Merry Go Round Quilts. One, thank you for having me back among these elite free motion quilters. I am so grateful to you for having me back. And thank you for putting on this summit and bringing us all together. So I decided to change up a little bit what I was going to do this year. Normally I've done a tutorial on a few simple designs, one or two or something along those lines, whether it's, in the season or just stepping outside your comfort zone. However, I decided to take a step back and think about, yes, we as quilters, obviously you have a desire to free motion quilt, and that's something that you are passionate about. Do we always have the time to do this sort of intricate detail quilting that we may like to? Do we always have the inspiration to do that sort of quilting? And maybe we're short on time. Maybe we just, don't have it in us at that point in time to be able to do that kind of detail and commit to that kind of long-term quilting project. That's why I'm here in this tutorial today. I'm going to talk to you about size versus scale, and that you too, whether you're beginner or advanced, you can finish your quilt, quilting it yourself in a relatively short amount of time. It does not have to take you a week, a month, or anything like that to be able to finish quilting your quilt. It is very reasonable to finish it in a few hours or over the weekend. What we're going to do, and I hope that you walk away with, is an understanding of size versus scale when it comes to your quilting design, and how to apply that size or scale to the relative size of your quilt to help you to expedite your quilting process, but not putting any less love into your quilting. When you're thinking about how you're going to finish that quilt in an expedited amount of time, also remember, what are some of those quilting designs that I am truly comfortable with? Like, that is my sweet spot, my comfort zone, your go-to designs, right? I highly recommend having 3 to 5 quilting designs that you feel totally solid in. Meaning, it doesn't have to be perfect by any means. Like, we're people, so perfection, gone. The ones that you feel comfortable, that you can sit down on the machine. You don't need to practice first. You don't need to, bring that back up in your muscle memory or anything like that. You're like, I got this. I know these. Have 3 to 5 of those that you are totally comfortable with, and choose one of those. So the difference will be, which we're going to get to in a second, is how big or small that design is. So as long as you're really comfortable with the design, going up and down and the size and the scale is going to be a whole lot easier than trying to learn a brand new design and then trying to go different sizes and get comfortable with that too. So just go with your old reliables, start with those first, and then now let's look at how that size and scale matter when it comes to your quilting design. Let's first start by understanding what is size versus scale. They are two different things, sometimes used interchangeably, but there is a difference. We're going to use our friend, the half square triangle. As quilters, it's a block we are very familiar with. So it's easily to connect to and to understand, help us to understand the size versus the scale. So in this case, starting with our square HST here, our half square triangle, we'll say for the example, it's 4 by 4 inches. The height and the width are the same. That is the size, that hard and fast number of how big an object is. Whether it's 3 inches square, 8 inches square, doesn't matter. That is its size. For the scale of our square object, because the height and the width are the exact same number, that gets us a scale of 1 to 1 because the numbers are even. Yes? So in the scale, it is a ratio of the size of one object to the size of another object. So not just what the hard and fast numbers are, but relatively speaking, how big one is to the other. For example, going from the 1 to 1 to the 1 to 2, you have the exact same numbers for the 4 by 4 square. So that is the length and the height of 1 to 1. Now, when you look at a ratio of 1 to 2, you'll notice how our square has dropped down into a rectangle. So this will be the 8 inches in the height versus the 4 inches in the width. So 4 by 8. So you are essentially, in this case, we're going from 1 to 1 to 1 to 2, doubling the height here of your HST, which actually has then become a half rectangle triangle, right? So that is just to give you an idea of how scale versus size works. Now, on our quilt, that comes into play when we talk about the size of whatever your design is, and then comparing that to the overall size of your quilt. So you could be looking at a quilt that is, we'll say 4 feet square. So we're sticking with our same 4 numbers here. So this is a 4 foot square, and as opposed to 4 inches square. That's a 4 foot square quilt. Now, when you are looking at your design, you can go with a smaller design on your quilt, and keeping in mind that that is going to be a little bit more dense, more thread, and going to take a little bit more time. Or you can go with a either bigger in size design to take up more space on your quilt. And so the relative size of the design is how big that design is compared to the overall size of the quilt. So whether it's your 4 foot square, you could have the exact same design. So maybe your design is 2 inches by 2 inches. Yes, you can have that exact same design, but on a 4 foot square quilt versus an 8 foot square quilt, that 2-inch design, that scale changes from that 1 to 1 to that 1 to 2 that we just talked about. Let's go for a practical example. How about that? Let's talk practical example. I don't know about you, but that helps me and to see it versus just trying to imagine it. So I don't know if you remember from last year, I did a tutorial in last year's summit for this pumpkin design on a vine. I love it, absolutely love it for fall and for Halloween. It goes very nicely and can go really smoothly, especially once you get the hang of the design. So when I initially did the pumpkins on this practice sandwich, I had a small space right in my sandwich here. So I chose smaller pumpkins so I could fit more in, so you could see as I was going along and see me practice. Well, this is great, and this size works great for this small sandwich space. Now, when you want to do a larger quilt, let's consider, for example, you can still go with this size. That is totally okay and a great option. You get more dense quilting if you like that. You get more pumpkins, more loops, and it makes it really fun. However, it is totally up to you to say, like, you know what, that's great. I want my pumpkins to stand out maybe just a little bit more. And also, I'm a little short on time, Shereece. I need to get this done. I want to do it myself, but I don't have the kind of time to spend a month quilting it, or whatever the case may be. Either way. So that's when you want to look at sizing up your design. In this case, pumpkins. So I went from, I'll show you side by side, pumpkins this size to pumpkins more this size or this size. Now, it's not much of a difference, really. But when you factor in the pumpkin size difference, and then you factor in the loop size difference in how much bigger this is versus this. This is going to cover more space on your quilt a whole lot faster than this. Now, neither is wrong. I want to highly stress that neither is wrong. I just know that in life, and life happens, we want to invest time and we want to be able to do the quilting ourselves. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here attending the summit, right? However, we also don't always have the kind of time to be able to do the detail quilting within the pattern blocks as it affords it here. So like in this diffused quilt that I made, I could have done in each individual triangle here. I could have, worked in the black borders, worked just in the white squares. I mean, I could have had all kinds of fun. With that, though, comes time. It comes commitment. And it's not that we don't want to put our heart into our work. Unfortunately, life is what it is, and we don't always have the kind of time that we want to invest in doing those sort of custom quilting details. So we look at going bigger with an all-over design to help us to spread out the quilting. Now, you also get less dense quilting if that is something that you prefer or not, but you are less dense, meaning their quilting takes up more space. Here you have a more dense quilting. Everything is closer together, makes it tighter. It will add thread, so it will also make your quilt heavier. Now, if you live in a colder climate, that is probably excellent. It's a great choice. Me living in the southern part of the United States, here in Georgia, we don't necessarily need that dense quilting as often as others do. However, neither one, I cannot stress enough, neither one is wrong. It is totally a personal preference on what you like. Alrighty, my fiber friends, I hope that you have found at least one little nugget of information that's new for you or helpful for you in this tutorial. I am so glad again that you decided to join us again this year. Again, thank you to Mary for having me back. If you have any questions and any assistance whatsoever, you are more than welcome to reach out to me at any point. My email address is sohookedontreasures@gmail.com. There's my website, sohookedontreasures.com. Very simple. And I know, go with me here, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I mean, you name it, whatever the platform is, you can find me at So Hooked on Treasures, and I will be more than happy to reply to your emails, take your messages, and help you out as best as I possibly can. I look forward to seeing you around the virtual quilt universe, or if we are ever at the same event, please stop and say hello. I would love to actually meet anyone in person. Thank you so much. Enjoy and best of luck to you. All right, my fiber friends, thank you so much for sitting with me, and I hope that you have gained just at least a little bit of knowledge that you have taken away to be able to help you to improve your skills and feel a little bit more comfortable in free motion quilting. Thanks again to Mary Go Round Quilts for being our hostess with the mostest. I appreciate being invited back this year. If you need to reach me, any questions, concerns, need further assistance, I am always happy to help. I love helping. I love connecting with everyone. So if I can ever be of help to you, you can find me in any number of ways, whether it's email, sohookedontreasures@gmail.com, my website, sohookedontreasures.com, or socials from Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, all the same. So Hooked on Treasures. So I am looking forward to seeing what y'all create. I would love it if you shared it with me. Also, please feel free to, you ever see me out there in the real quilty world, please stop and say hello. I would love to meet y'all in person. Have a great one and best of luck to all of you.